Life flows like a river, crossing valleys, climbing mountains, and weathering every storm. Along the journey, it's the real people, real conversations, and real moments that shape who we become.
In my opinion, I feel like some teenagers wear a mask because they have to portray this thing out there that, oh, I'm fine. And
a lot of teenagers feel like, oh, and also don't be calling someone that don't say
a question, why am I even here?
From my perspective, no one in the class seemed interested in me, specifically the boys.
At Oasis Inspire, every conversation plants a seed that fuels growth, that ultimately uncovers purpose.
Oasis Inspire with me, Counselor Megan Hilton. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered if you were enough? If you were enough for your friends, for social media, pretty enough, smart enough, good enough, capable enough? If we're to be honest, many of us, especially during the teenage years, would have wrestled with these thoughts, these questions. It has become even worse for teenagers these days because we live in a world that constantly tells us that our worth depends on our appearance, achievements, and of course, how many likes we have on social media and how much approval we get from others. Welcome to Oasis Inspire. I'm your host, Counselor Megan Hilton, and this is one of several episodes in our series called Crown Conversations, where we celebrate real teenagers, we give them a voice to express themselves, and we have honest conversations and talk about the extraordinary things that they are doing. Today's episode is entitled From Validation to Revelation. From Validation to Revelation. Finding confidence, beauty, and identity that lasts. And I'm so excited to have with me today a remarkable young lady who is going to be sharing her personal journey from validation to revelation, how she grew into accepting the love of God and her personal identity over what other people had to say to her. And so I want to welcome to today's Oasis Inspire episode, Lady Vanya. Welcome, Lady Vanya. And before we get into our discussion, I just want you to tell us a little about yourself. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, Auntie Megan. So my name is Vanya. I am 17 years of age. I am a child of God. I also am an entrepreneur. That's a little about me.
How important is it for a young person to know their own worth in a world like today's world?
I believe that knowing your own worth is very important because there is a lot of talkers, a lot of persons out there that if you're not careful, they will try and tell you your worth, try and tell you who you are, speak negative words over you, say things that aren't true. So knowing your value for yourself and your value in Christ is very important because it stirs you in it turns you in the right direction.
Okay, awesome. So let us start. Many teenagers, they wrestle with the questions like, am I enough? Do I fit in? Um, do I really belong here? I've had teenagers who tell me, they ask that question, why am I even here? And I want you to tell us, Vanya, looking back, when did you first realize that you were seeking validation from other people?
Yes. I first realized in primary school. When I was thinking about this question, this situation came to me. I remember I had a best friend who received a lot of attention from the boys in the class. And this was like in grade 4 or 5. And from my perspective, no one in the class seemed interested in me, specifically the boys. And that was just something that was
Mm-hmm.
on my mind when I was smaller. So I started asking myself questions like, why don't they like me? Or what's wrong with me? Is it the way I look? And stuff like that. So looking back, I can see that I was already measuring myself, my worth by other person's approval. From a very young age, I began to seek
Wow.
validation.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because many people may think that this need for validation starts in the teenage years, but it really starts from much younger when children are younger, the things we say to them, the experiences they have, all of that can start to affect how they see themselves, right? Um,
Yes,
you told, but so you can identify that this started when you were younger. But what was the turning point for you that helped you to realize that it's not really what people think about you that defines you? When did that habit of comparing yourself to others, looking on what other people think, when did that start to change for you?
okay. Honestly, I first learned this lesson, not identifying my worth by other persons say through social media. Before I fully understood it spiritually, I noticed that no matter how many views or likes you can get on a post in social media, there will always be someone that doesn't like you, that doesn't like the post, that doesn't like how you look. And I can't really change someone's opinion, and I won't be
Mm.
everyone's cup of tea. So even from a younger age, I think it was first just being on social media and seeing where some persons might like somebody, but other persons might not. So that was when I realized that not everyone will like me, and that's okay. But as I grew my relationship with Christ, my understanding deepened.
All right. Yes, Lady Vanya. So you would have experienced that feeling in your primary school years. But tell me, did it continue into your teenage years? Give us a little idea of what happened in your early teenage years.
Yes, it did. It did continue. And because I was seeking validation from, someone liking me or being interested in me, when I went into high school, even when I just left grade 6, even in grade 6, that transition point from primary school to high school, you know, I always just was interested in the fact if anyone likes me, or was questioning, why anyone didn't like me. And as I transitioned into high school, I went into an all girls school, which I find very
Okay.
funny looking back at it now, because it would turn from me seeking validation from boys into girls. So whether it was friendships, whether it was whether it was friendships or relationships, I always seek validation in that aspect. I would think, why doesn't that person want to be my friend if I'm not good enough, if there's something wrong with me? And obviously, insecurities came with that as well. So there was one point where I didn't like my eyes, because at one point when I was smaller, I thought maybe it's because of my eyes. I thought my eyes were very big. So that
Mm.
that was one of the ways that the enemy, started the insecurities as well.
Wow. Wow. And I can imagine, just being in a girls' school because girls have a way of, I don't know if it is intentional, but girls have a way of, if their confidence is high, they make it known, right? So for those who may be struggling with insecurity, it can be very difficult. But I want you to tell our listeners today, as we talk about moving from validation to revelation. What was a turning point that helped you to realize that other people's opinion really couldn't define who Vanya was, couldn't define your worth?
Honestly, I first learned the lesson through social media before I fully understood, the Bible and the spiritual aspect of it. I From a young age, I noticed that on social media, no matter how many likes, a person gets on a post, on a video, there'll always be someone that doesn't like the video. There's always be someone that criticizes. So from a young age, I had that understanding that not everyone is everyone's cup of tea. And that's maybe the case for me. I just realized from a young age that not everyone will like me. And I understood it from that point of view of social media. However, as I grew in my relationship with Christ, my understanding deepened, and I guess the major turning point would be where I realized that my feelings or my opinions of myself are not always trustworthy because I wasn't viewing it from I'm a daughter of a king standpoint. I was viewing it from my fleshly standpoint, and I was influenced by my flesh. So the thoughts that I was thinking were coming from my flesh. They were negative thoughts. So instead of believing every negative thought, I made a decision to just believe what God word says concerning me, and that was when everything changed concerning my my identity and my worth.
Wow. Wow. It's such a balanced view because you said first you saw it on you realize from social media. I mean, we can put out a video and we think it's amazing, right? And then when you look at the comments, you may have some people who love it and some who the comments alone are so disgusting. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it is good that you said that. But then the greater validation came as you understood how God sees you, right? As his daughter. And so social media, we all know, it tells us or it tells you younger folks, that you're big on your appearance, how popular you are, and as you said, how many likes you get. But how would Vanya redefine beauty for somebody, for a young girl, a young lady who is listening today? How would you redefine beauty for them?
I would define beauty as being who God created you to be. I believe that every one of us is God's creation, and there is beauty in that alone. When I think about a sunset or a sunrise or the beach, the flowers, the mountains, I think about how amazed we are as humans about the beauty of it all. And then I realized, well, wait, God created these things. And if we think that they're so beautiful and because God created them, then I remember that I'm also created by God Himself. So if we can look at His creation and call it beautiful, how much more does God delight in us as His creation? And beauty is not about perfection or popularity or approval. True beauty comes from embracing who God made you to be and living fully surrendered to Him. That's my redefinition of beauty.
Wow, this is powerful. So you are basically saying beauty comes from the inside out and not the other way around, right?
Yeah.
It was just
Yes.
it was just recently that I heard someone say you can be so beautiful physically. A person can be so what the society calls beautiful, right? Um,
Mhm.
physically. But then when you get to know the person, they are very ugly, meaning their character, their personality and the mannerism and how they treat people is actually very ugly. Yeah? So I do
Yeah.
agree with that. And for those who may be listening to us, we want them to know your beauty is coming from the inside out. All right? Now, today we can hear you, Vanya. We hear you speaking about yourself as one of God's daughters. And you would have been a part of our program at Oasis Counseling and Coaching, the Teen Queen Emerge program. Um, you would have come through the program. I remember when we started. I have seen the growth. I've seen the emergence. Yes. And I want to ask you today, as you see yourself as one of God's daughters and embracing your identity as His queen, what does that mean to you personally? And how has it changed the way that you see yourself? You mentioned that, yes, you saw it from God's perspective. How has that changed Vanya overall?
It has changed. It has shaped my point of view of myself a lot. As I said, I was a very insecure person, and on top of that, I seek validation from others. So when I came into the revelation, I am beautiful no matter how I feel I look, no matter what I think I do, like the outfit I'm in, or the external things. Maybe my hair is not done or my nails are not done. When I came into the revelation that it doesn't matter how I think I look or how other persons look, the mere fact that God Himself created me and His word says that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I just believed that I am beautiful no matter what. And it's still a daily battle because obviously the enemy will still come and, tell you lies in your head. But I just have to remind myself daily that I am beautiful. And when the thought comes, to me, it could any day, every day. Oh, I look ugly today, or, you know, something negative. I would literally have to catch the thought before it grows. That's something that my friend told me. I have to catch the thought before it grows. So I would literally catch the thought, and after I catch the thought, I will repent. And maybe that's maybe extra for some people, but I literally repent. I'm like, God, I'm so sorry that I just said that, I just thought that, and I give it over to you, and I choose to believe that I'm beautiful. Yes, so when the thought would come, oh, I'm ugly today, or I don't look good, after I catch a thought, I would say to myself, well, I'm glad that that's a lie because God says I'm perfectly and wonderfully made. So I mean, it has changed. It has changed my perspective a lot since I've come into the full revelation that I'm beautiful.
Awesome. Awesome, Vanya. You're touching lives. I can tell you that. And I love what you said about catching the thought because every thought is a seed, right? And if you allow those thoughts to stay there and grow, eventually what you have is a forest of negative thoughts. And in counseling, we talk about challenging irrational thoughts, challenging the thoughts that will hold you back. And that's exactly what you did. You probably didn't even know that that's what it's called. Yes. Um, but the fact that you said it, I'm going to catch that thought. And you remind yourself that, yes, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. So I can hear from what you're saying that you had to change some habits in terms of what you spoke to yourself, right? And I'm also wondering, did it affect your social life when you started to accept Vanya as somebody unique, somebody beautiful, somebody blessed? Did that result in you having more friends or having more positive friends around you?
I wouldn't say it changed because I would say that I'm very blessed and fortunate to always had solid friends, even if they weren't Christians, which in grade 7, 8, I know I had friends that weren't Christians. And even then, they were very they were very affirming. So I've always been surrounded by persons that would affirm me, and especially since having Christian friends even more so. So I wouldn't say it made me get more friends. All the friends that I had, they always affirmed me. It didn't change how other persons viewed me because I was just always surrounded by persons that would affirm me. It was just me that had the insecurity. There was no one around me that would, talk down to me or speak negatively
Mm,
over me.
awesome. All right, we're almost there for today's conversation, but I want you to look in that camera, and if there's a teenage girl out there who is listening to us and she doesn't feel pretty, she doesn't feel pretty enough, smart enough, maybe she doesn't feel good enough, maybe she has people around her who are speaking negative things. What would you want her to know? What would you want to say to that teenage girl right now?
The first thing that I would say is if there is someone around you in your circle, in your community that's speaking negatively over you, one quote that I remember and learned through the Teen Queen Emerge program, I don't remember who said it, but it definitely has stayed with me over the years, is that no one has the right to say anything about you that God did not see, not even yourself. And when I heard that for the first time, I was just like, wow, that's so profound. So that's one thing I would say. No one has the right to say anything about you that God did not say himself. And I want you to also know that your identity is not rooted in your feelings. It doesn't matter how you feel you look or others say you look, your opinions of yourselves, others' opinions of your identity is rooted in what God says about you. And anything at all that speaks contrary to God's words is not the truth. It's just not, because God is not a man that lies, and He's a truthful God. So anything that He says concerning you is the truth. So anything that speaks contrary to what God says, I'm ugly, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of love. That's all a lie. So you have to really believe in God's word and God's truth. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. So before I ask you to tell our listeners, you said earlier that you are an entrepreneur. So of course I'm going to give you the opportunity to tell us what you do. But before we do that, we started out by just talking about the challenges you would have had as a little girl, as a teen, a young teen growing up in terms of your identity. And so this one now will show us if Vanya has really transformed, right? So Vanya, when you look in the mirror today, when you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see that you probably could not see a few years ago?
When I look in the mirror today, I see a beautiful young woman who is becoming everything that God created her to be. And a few years ago, when I was smaller, I only saw my flaws. And
Mm,
now I see God's handiwork. Now I see His beautiful creation. I'm still growing, I'm still healing, I'm still becoming, but I no longer view myself through insecurity or through the lens of insecurity. I see myself through God's lens of love, and it has definitely changed how I see myself. So when I look in the mirror, I just see a beautiful person. Even my perspective of marriage and being married. When I was smaller, because I wasn't getting validation from others, especially men, I always asked, will I get married one day? And that's a crazy thing to think about when you're young. But that's unfortunately what I was thinking about. But no,
mm.
I definitely know that there's someone that God has for me, and one day I'll definitely be married.
Oh
So yeah.
yes, I love it. I love it. So Vanya, before I do my wrap up, just tell us, you're an entrepreneur. Tell us about your business and where listeners and viewers can find you to support that business. Go right ahead.
Okay, so my business, one of many, one of my first businesses is called Nail with Grace. I sell press-on nails,
Mhm.
so you can find. I'm on Instagram. You can find me at nailed with underscore grace on Instagram. So that's nailed with grace. And when I was thinking of the name, I was like, what's something unique? And because I'm a Christian, I wanted it to have meaning. And then, it came to me, Nail with Grace. And I was like, I really like that. Anytime someone purchases a nail from me, you know, they will feel good, they will feel love, they'll feel God's grace all over them. So, and I named it Nail with Grace.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vanya. It has been an experience just listening to you. You know, it even brought back memories of my own journey as a teenager. Because yes, I struggled with insecurity quite a bit, and it was the same revelation of who God says I am that would have freed me from that. All right. So we want to thank you. Today's conversation, viewers, reminds us that confidence isn't something that we earn through the applause or the compliments of people. It is something we discover when we begin to see ourselves through truth instead of comparison. You really can't compare yourself fairly to anyone else because there is no one else who is exactly like you. So, whether you've struggled with self image or you simply needed a reminder of your worth, we hope that today's episode has encouraged you to wear your crown and wear it with pride because there is absolutely no one else in the entire world like you. I say to persons who may have an identical twin, and when I say there's nobody exactly like you, and they may think, yes, I have an identical twin, but guess what? Your fingerprints are different. Your personalities are because God does not make photocopies. And so we want to encourage you as we wrap up this conversation, crowned conversations, because we're talking to young ladies who would have grown and understood just how valuable they are in the eyes of God. Many of them are now ambassadors in the Teen Queen program. And we want to say to you, wear your crown with confidence, not because of what other people say about you, not because of what other people think about you, but because of the value that you know exists in you because of who created you. And so thank you again for joining us for this episode of Oasis Inspire. We hope you were inspired. This is a place where we use conversations to inspire hope in every listener. God bless you. Thanks again, Vanya. You were amazing. God bless you.